Shalom and greetings from Jerusalem, Jane. October 24, I want to give you a current news update out of Israel. As always, I'm standing here in my bomb shelter. I want to show you this photo. You see this sweet elderly lady in a wheelchair. Her name is Yocheved. She's 85 years old and she was released from inside the Gaza Strip yesterday together with another elderly lady. Two Israeli women, elderly ladies, grandmothers, mothers, wives, was released last night from Hamas. This lady just gave a short press conference to mainstream media around the world. And she said these terrorists came into our kibbutz and they kidnapped everything they could find, women, children, elderly. Two terrorists dragged her on a motorcycle in between two terrorists, and she was taking into the Gaza Strip, and on the whole trip they were beating her with a stick, really to a point where she could barely breathe, squeezing her and beating her. Coming into the Gaza Strip, they were taking down to the tunnels. You have to remember, and like I have reported about many times, the Gaza Strip, especially in the northern part, beneath the ground is one huge spider web of tunnels, terror tunnels built from Hamas, and that's where they were taking down. She said they walked several kilometers and then she entered into a big room with about 25 people. They were there for a couple of hours and then they were separated again and placed into a room. I think she said there were about 5 or 6 people. Like she said, they were prepared for this. There were doctors to take look at them. There was one person who got injured. He was treated by a doctor. They got medicine. She said, we got a piece of bread, a cucumber, and some white cheese. That was the meal for the whole day. There was shampoo, douche, feminine products. So she said they took care of us. They were prepared. So that's her story, and we are very, very happy that those two elderly ladies got out late last night. Both of their husbands are still held captive in the Gaza Strip. One of them is nearly 90 years old. The lady who was released that I just spoke about, Yocheved, and her husband for many years has been doing humanitarian work. Did you know that while Hamas are sending all of these rockets into Israel, and while a large part of the civilian population inside the Gaza Strip are supporting Hamas in murdering the Jewish people, Israel is opening the border into Gaza. And many, many times during the month, people who are sick, children, adults, people with cancer, people who need surgery, they are being brought in and they are getting treated in Israeli hospitals. Did you know that? I guess you didn't. So this lady, Yocheved, and her husband, who is still a prisoner, a hostage in Gaza, that's what they did. Her husband, every week, he brought out sick people, including children, from Gaza to hospital in Tel Aviv to get surgery and to get treated, because that's what Israel do. There are still more than 200 people captive in the Gaza Strip, something they have planned for a very, very long time. And like I heard a commentator saying on Israeli TV, we saw that during the Holocaust. We saw how they gathered the Jews and then they were separated. Men, women, elderly, children. And this little group of elderly ladies, not just elderly lady, but this little group where she was, they were treated fairly, like she said. That is no guarantee whatsoever that the rest is being treated good in any way. When we saw the barbarism, when we saw the cruelty of what they did to the civilians here in Israel. Israeli police, Israeli military has been interrogating several of the terrorists who was arrested. And again, they are spilling their guts. They are saying that the leadership of Hamas and all the high-ranking People in Hamas, they dictated all the things that should be done. They planned it, but they stayed back in safety in their bunkers, and then they sent all the other terrorists into Israel to commit all of these atrocities. They had plans of the kibbutzes, how to get in, how to get around the area. They had layouts for some of these kibbutzes. They knew everything. They knew how to get in through the gates. They had everything. The massive amount of weapon they brought that Israel collected, it was for a small army. They had ISIS handbooks in how to carry out these atrocities. They were being told, anyone who kidnaps someone and you drag them back into the Gaza Strip, you will be rewarded $10,000. They were told to kidnap elderly. They were told to kidnap children. They were told to rape the women. It's so horrific. I know I have been sharing about what took place, but more and more information are coming out, and you need to know these things. It was the worst massacre. We cannot put into words. They took children, they tied their hands behind their back, and they burned them alive. They raped women so violently, they broke their pelvis. They cut the breasts of women. They cut out the eyes of men. They cut the feet of children. They threw hand grenades into bomb shelters where people were hiding. They decapitated people. You cannot imagine the horror. And what the Israeli Defense Forces did was they invited foreign media and they showed them 45 minutes of uncensored, brutal raw material that these ISIS Nazis terrorists, the atrocity they committed. One of the terrorists, he murdered 10 people. He takes the phone of one of his victims and he calls his parent in the Gaza Strip, and he's saying, he speaks to his father and he's saying, Father, I just murdered 10 Jews. Are you proud of me? And you can hear his parents are proud of him. They are celebrating it. So this is atrocities that you cannot fathom, and they were shown out to mainstream media yesterday. So hopefully wherever you are around the world, they will share it with you, the gruesomeness. It's not just that they came in here and they murdered 400 people were shot. They were mutilated. They were massacred. They were tortured. They were raped. They were gang raped. They were beheaded. They raped the corpses of women. How sick can you be? These are the things that came out of video because they live streamed it to the world. And then the interrogations from the terrorists who has been apprehended, they like I said before, they are spilling their guts. They are saying, this is what we were told to do. This is the manual. This is what we were showed to do. And they came in here and they committed the worst massacre towards the Jewish people since the Second World War. So as of this moment, 4 women has been released. A mother and a daughter, Americans. And then last night, 2 Israeli grandmothers. And there are still more than 200 hostages in the Gaza Strip. Hamas continues to fire rockets into Israel. Hezbollah continues to fire rockets into Israel from the north. So everything is on high alert. There's a meeting right now between the president of France, Macron, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And Macron was actually warning not to get involved up north to Hezbollah. And Netanyahu said, and he has said that before, if they get involved, they will regret it. They will regret it. Israel will bomb them back to the Stone Age. So the atrocities that took place here, the mutilations, the more things that's coming out, people burned to where you can't even recognize them, you can't identify them. So it's just, it's unbelievable what happened. This whole nation is still grieving and mourning. People are still being identified. People are still missing. There are still people missing. And they are still finding bodies of slaughtered people. They are still finding body parts of people who was decapitated or mutilated by these ISIS terrorists. So it's horrible. This whole nation has changed. I have changed, every single person in this. There was before Israel, before October 7, and here we are now, completely different and changed and traumatized of the things that's happening. But yet this nation is coming together because all of a sudden hundreds of thousands reported to the army. So I saw a report of some of the fashion designers here in Israel. You know, they got a call from the army, we need help. So now they are sewing uniforms to soldiers, they're repairing uniforms to soldiers. There is a massive need. You know, thousands and thousands of foreign workers, you know, many of them were killed also by these terrorists. Some of them were taken as hostages into the Gaza Strip. So the farmers down in the area around the Gaza Strip, they need to harvest. They need to harvest red pepper, green pepper, yellow pepper. They need to harvest avocados. And there's nobody there. They are lacking all their workers. So many people went into the army now, so people are lacking around in their regular jobs. The country is closed down, the tourists are away. Israel is going to suffer financially. So this is impacting on in a scale you cannot imagine. In a scale you cannot imagine, and every day we still have funerals. We still have funerals. I want to say again, more videos are coming out where you see the civilian population inside the Gaza Strip were taking part of this. When the fence was open, they ran into Israel, and some of these civilians there, they kidnapped some of the Israelis into the Gaza Strip. Some of the people held captives right now, some are with Islamic Jihad, some is with Hamas, and someone is being held by civilians in Gaza Strip. They support Hamas. When rockets are flying into Israel, they are, oh, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. They are celebrating, and when rockets are flying into them, they're crying and screaming, and all of a sudden they are victims. So we need to keep the focus on what is really happening here. So things are very, very on high alert. We still didn't see the ground operation into Gaza. There are still many options. The most important thing is that the Israeli army is ready. And right now, for more than 2 weeks, they have been pounding with the Air Force. I think it was 400 Hamas targets this night alone. They are pounding as much as they can on the underground, up top, as many buildings as possible. They are clearing the ground to be as ready as possible for that day when the operation starts into the Gaza Strip. They are going to come by the air, they are going to come by the sea, and they are going to come by the ground. And every single soldier is someone's husband, father, son, brother, nephew, because this nation is so small that they are all like this, and they don't have a choice. There is one Jewish nation. There's one Jewish nation that most of the Muslim countries around the world would like to see eradicated from this earth. There's one Jewish nation, and that's the nation God said, I put my name down on you, Israel. If you touch Israel, you're touching the apple of my eye. So for such a time as this, we can stand with Israel and say what comes against Israel right now is against the Holy Land. This is a battle between good and evil, light and darkness. And I want to be on the blessing team. I want to be on the team of light. I know my Bible is true. Either the whole Bible is true or the whole thing is a lie. You cannot pick and choose. The Bible is not a buffet. God says, I will stand with Israel. I will put my name down. I will put my blessings on Israel. I will curse those that curse Israel. I will bless those that bless Israel. We know all of these scriptures. Either they are true or none of it is true. So for such a time as this, I want to thank you, the wonderful people around the world who are standing with Israel, who is making pro-Israel rallies. It means more than you can ever know. Pray for the people who is right now held captive inside the Gaza Strip. Please contact your government and put pressure on them to have them being released out of Gaza. Pray for the Holy Land who is preparing for war. Hundreds of thousands troops in the north, hundreds of thousands troops in the south, and many, many, many troops in Judea and Samaria, where things are also very, very tense. So thank you for watching this news update from Jerusalem, Jane. Please share it out. I have so many people who are saying, Jane, we're looking forward to it. Thank you for what you're sharing. It is my pleasure. United for such a time as this, we're standing with Israel. Bye.